All right, good evening, everyone. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and begin our meeting. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Like someone to make a motion to accept the agenda as is.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion passes. Everyone should have had a chance to review the minute meetings from the January 7th meeting. I found no errors or mistakes. Everyone reviewed it. With everything's okay, can I have a motion to accept?
Sure, I'll make a motion to accept.
Jim?
Second.
All right, by Andrea. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Correspondence and communications. I have a couple, but I'm going to wait till informal discussion to go through some of those. So tonight, I sent out to everyone a presentation. We have a gentleman that'll be on the phone today, Jeffrey Dimmick, that'll be talking about an opportunity for funding for some sewer upgrades and capital improvements that the town desperately needs. I wanted everyone here to be able to ask some questions as well. We've also invited someone from USDA that coordinates that program and has some answers for that. So let's have some lively discussion about this. I've got our Public Works Director here as well, Jason. So he may be able to clarify and add to some of the needs down there as well. But I wanted to focus on that as one of the primary things tonight. The background of this, of course, is we have several large projects going on right now. We're expanding. There hasn't been any major significant improvement to the sewer plant for 25 years. We've kind of kept it moving along with, Band-Aids and bubble gum and MacGyvered it. So I think it's time we look at that, especially since the capacity to handle more with Brainerd Place may be a concern. So with that in mind, Nick, do we have him on the phone? We do not. Okay. So what I'd like to do then, until we get him on the phone, Jason, would you mind coming up and walking through? Walking through some of the needs that are down there.
All right, Jason Morocco, Director of Public Works, Town of Portland. So we have the opportunity to apply for a USDA grant / loan with the federal government to help us to do some upgrades on our sewage plant. Right now, the thought is that we would potentially ask for 10 million. What that 10 million would do is we need to upgrade our aeration blowers. So we have 4 blowers down at the treatment plant. 2 are oversized, which probably only combined have about 30 or 40 hours on them. They're original to the plant. They are too big to run for our aeration tanks. We have a blower that's too small and a blower that's just the right size. So we only want 1 blower out of the 4 blowers for our aeration tanks. If we use the other ones, we can't throttle them down and we end up blowing, potentially sewage right out of the aeration tanks. Another area that needs improvement is our UV purifier. So that system was at one time state of the art. Now it's slowly becoming obsolete where we can't get any replacement parts. They are either no longer available or really hard to find. Also being said, we have a few cross connection issues on this downtown area down by what everyone's calling the pot plant area, older section of town where we get a lot of water infiltration. So we have a study that was done in 2011 that shows where some of those areas of concern need to be. Some of those were already remedied, some of them weren't. And then the other piece of it is most of the 7 roofs that are down at the treatment plant are either past their prime or need replacement already. So I could tell you that the big metal building, they call it the red roof, where we have all our electronics and the blowers, that roof leaks. Our lab, operations building where the lab is, that roof leaks. So it encompasses the infrastructure improvements and, some operation stuff with the roofs, along with a new generator that would power the whole plant. Right now, if we have a electrical outage, we can only operate, I think, half of the plant. And then we have to put in a critical ticket with Eversource, where hopefully they do as best as they can to get the power back on. We currently, at the time, due to the way that the plant is set up, we only run half the plant at a time. Unless there's a big water event, being rain or snow melt, where we have to take all that extra water, then we just kind of pass it across the top and send it out to the river. So with the new development that's already going on, and hopefully some new proposed development, we'd be able to accept more and do it more efficiently.
Excellent. I know, we had spoken with the USDA, 2 weeks ago, whatever it
Yep.
was, 2 weeks ago. And, we did some work back in 1999. I think we're still paying some of that loan.
Yeah,
off
that
of-
was for a different infrastructures,
Right.
but yes, we do have a current loan with USDA that we've been paying on, which makes the town of Portland look very good when we go to apply for a loan slash grant, that we've already had something with them and we continue to pay on it, haven't faulted.
Do
on
we
that
know
one.
what our rough balance is on that loan?
I do not.
It was less than 200,000. So,
Yeah, I was gonna say, that was coming down, that was coming down.
no, yeah, absolutely. So.
Do we know what the original loan was?
Was it 1.5?
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
Yeah, it
I
was-
didn't
it was-
even realize we had it until they,
It was less than 2. I think Jeff's on the way, by the way. He stopped by the
Yeah.
town hall, and said it was locked. So he's coming over right now.
so we had two studies that were done last June, July-ish. One was the study from our engineering consultants to say what we need to upgrade with the plant, so that's a plus. Also, last June, we had a study done on all the roofs, so that's a plus. And then we already have the infiltration study that was done back in 2011. So between those three studies and a bunch of some other stuff that the other consultant that's gonna help us file the application, Portland is kind of ahead of the game as far as already compiling information to apply for the loan. So in that aspect, we've given all that stuff to the consultant who's gonna come in and give you a little rundown of the process. They're gonna help us walk through the process on how to apply. Pretty much ask for the kitchen sink and maybe end up with a couch and see where it goes. They might come back and say, we're gonna give you X amount of money, and then we have to decide what to do with that money.
Well, and I think we're working on a well. We have that, and so we're working on the front end. But the back end here, we need to make sure that that infrastructure is capable and can handle what we need to do. Just as important as the more flashy front end. So it's important. Should be here any minute now, by the way. Any questions for him at all?
Is there anything of priority that if we got the full amount that this would not cover? That you see in 5-10 years, we're gonna have something else that needs to be replaced that this won't do?
Not at the moment. I think what's probably gonna happen is we'll get the loan slash grant and we'll take the roof aspect out of it and try to fund that a different way, and we'll do the upgrades on the plant. That's the way I'm seeing it.
Okay.
So like I said, we're asking for everything, but depending on what that amount is and what, what the payments are and what the town wants to do, we might end up taking, say, the roof aspect out of it.
Yep.
And know that we have to do that a different way.
Would this have a big impact on fees to customers that we know of, or are we hoping that what the rates we're at will cover this payment?
That we haven't actually talked about that at all, so.
Okay.
Is so there's low interest direct loans, right? And then the other part of it is grants. Is there something specific you're thinking about? Or is it just, it's just
So right
one more
now,
line on the sheet, you know,
yeah, right now, it's my understanding that they're giving out more loans than they are grants, but I keep saying it grant/loan because depending on what might happen down the line. So every time we go for an approval, like we went to the Water Sewer Commission, we called it a loan/grant so that it covers both of those bases and we don't have to backtrack. So that's what I'm calling it moving forward. We don't know exactly what that's gonna be yet until we apply. It's most likely gonna be a loan.
Right, we've got the gentleman here. All right, Jeff, good to see you. All right,
I warmed it up for you, buddy.
Thank
Right.
Jason.
Yep. Oh, any other questions before I?
I'm good.
was good.
Okay, thank
Sure,
you.
we'll come up with something after you get leave there, so. All right, Jeff, you're up. Nick, could you put his presentation on? They have a copy of the long presentation you put together.
I think I've got Megan Llewellyn from USDA who's I want to get on it.
Oh, great.
Teams with us.
Oh, great, great. She
Trying to
she
get
should
her
be able to
on.
log in and then you can pull her up on the screen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Goes to the Portland Town website
okay.
and to meetings.
I can, yeah, let me,
Like, you know, we could have Nick from Tech and kind of walk her through.
Okay.
Do you have her on the phone now?
I'm gonna text her.
No pressure, right?
Okay, sorry I'm late. I was sitting up at the other parking lot since about 6:30 and I waited until about 10 of, and then I went up to the door and it was locked, so then I started to text you.
No problem.
Okay, so first off, thanks for allowing me to be here. My name is Jeff and I'm with Connecticut Rural Water and Wastewater. Our association is completely grant funded. My position is grant funded from USDA. In a nutshell, what I do is I provide trainings that are crucial for the operators at the plant. And I travel all around the state and I go to all the different plants of the state. And I bring trainings to them, whether in person or we have some trainings that we do that are group trainings that we put on our website. But they're always free trainings. So Portland being a member of our association, it's a benefit to Portland because your operators that work at the plant are getting free training that's going to keep them licensed. So that's super important for them, not only to be licensed, but to advance in that license. You know, from an operator one, I think you have 2 1s, 2 2s.
Oh, yes.
So yeah, and then advancing to a 3, and then eventually advancing potentially to the top grade of a 4. And so my association has other people that are employed with us as well. We have brought on a funding specialist, and what her job will be to do is, if you so choose to move forward with the USDA loan application, it's a very complicated online process. And what she'll do is sit with whomever is heading up that, whether it be a finance person or the superintendent of the plant or one of these 2 gentlemen here. She can walk you through every step of the way from beginning to end at no charge to you. Whereas engineering firms are going to charge a fee for that. So it'll help save money. It'll help bring understanding to the process and keep a clear and transparent step process as you go. It's all online, and she can also help guide you as to what other people you need to make users of that application or authorized inputters, so to speak. So I know Jason's going to have a lot of work on that, and so he's going to be listed as his position, and everybody has to be vetted and cleared with a USA.gov, I think it is what it's called, clearance, so. My chart here, or my little presentation is very simple. It's just that we are here, as an association that is just out to help small communities that get overlooked by these congressional grants and loans. The small communities that don't have enough people in their system, that a small rate increase could lead to millions and millions of dollars to be able to do things at the plant. You don't have that, and typically plants are run as more or less, quote unquote, a nonprofit. They don't have to be run literally as a nonprofit, but that's generally how it's perceived. You want to make sure that the plant is run with enough funds coming in to cover expenses, to cover price increases, and to allow that plant to make enough money to maintain the plant over long periods of time, and so that you can stretch out the life of the equipment rather than just 20 years, which I'm sure that plant has some equipment that's probably 50 years old, but I know it got an upgrade somewhat recently, or 10, 15 years ago. But with that being said, though I'm traveling all over the state, I'm reachable, and I can be at their will and call in a couple hours notice. I can drop what I'm doing at another plant and drive right to Portland to help out. So, but we have also a water specialist. I know you're doing the water system as well. So
Yes.
that's
We're
another
gonna develop
benefit to
that
you.
too, yes.
We have a source water specialist, and we have another guy that does what I do and provides the training on the water side of things. So, but anyways, I don't know if you have any questions for me, or,
You want to go to the next
Um,
slide, or does it make a difference?
yeah,
But-
I don't have a controller for it.
We have one right
Oh,
back here, Nick,
it's-
there you go.
Yeah, so that's it. This is my funding specialist, Aquia. She just started with us. She came from an engineering firm in Massachusetts. That's one of the bigger firms. I cannot remember which one at this time, but she's phenomenal. She is going to help you not only with the online application process for USDA, but she can help you find other grants that might be out there that could be attainable, and to lump them all together to get you as much money that you can, and as much, I'm not going to say free money because I hate to use that term, but enough grant money that maybe would have been missed otherwise. So that's what her job is. And like I said, she would come in and walk you guys through that whole process. I think the other slide is just simply, well, yeah, we were gonna list all your needs that you have, but I didn't have the full list on me, but,
It's a lot.
and that's fine. But we know that I'm thinking the estimate was in the 10 to 15 million range.
Yeah.
Something like that. So, in speaking in terms of what other towns are doing out there, there are some towns that are trying to pay for it all themselves and not go the route of USDA for loans. There's some towns that aren't even planning on doing anything. I applaud Portland for, and Mr. Pelton and Mr. Morocco for taking the steps to move forward on securing some funds to do the work that needs to be done, because it is so critical. If you want to grow as a town and as a community, that's the first place to fix and to bring up to speed. If the plant can't handle the growth won't happen. I've got several towns that are in a moratorium, which means no building until the plant figures it out, and you don't want to go into that situation either, so. And I applaud the operators at the plant for keeping everything going, and Mr. Lynch, former superintendent there, keeping everything going as long as he did with what he had. It's remarkable, so. Anyways, any questions for me?
So here's what I'm thinking. We want to get, who did you get from USDA? Is it Megan?
Yeah, Megan,
So here's what I would suggest, and if the board agrees with this as well. I know you wanted to say something for public comment. Are you sure? Okay. Why don't you go back with Nick and see, I'm not sure if she's online right now, but I'd love to have her be able to answer some questions and explain the program in detail. Is there someone online right now? And if not, you can maybe connect him with Nick and he can kind of walk her through and then we could do it. So once. No, okay. So if it pleases the board, let's go on to the next thing. And then once she's on board, we'll get her back up there. Okay.
My apologies for being, I hope to tell everybody where I was.
Yeah.
You'll get a chance to talk about that in a little bit.
Okay.
All right, very, very good. All right, public comments. No public comment, all right. Nothing online? Assuming no? All right, we have a monthly report from the Committee on Solidarity. Welcome. You're very welcome.
Apologize for my voice. Can everyone hear me okay? This is as loud as I can get right now.
Okay.
That's fine.
This cough will not leave me. So my name is Jacqueline Davis. I am a member of the Committee on Solidarity for Portland. And our committee. Better? Is that better?
Oh, much better.
Okay, great. So, Jacqueline Davis, a member of the, Committee on Solidarity for the town. We last met on January 13th for our monthly meeting. We actually had a very large showing of support from the community. We had 6 non-members in attendance, which is a lot for us, which is wonderful. The minutes will obviously be shared within the next week so that they can be posted to the town's website. But just to give a few highlights from what we discussed, the meeting included a resident from the town who proposed to do an educational presentation for parents in particular to counter the negative effects of white nationalism and supremacy in the town that we've seen in town and also on social media that is now getting into the high schools, the middle schools, and just general. We have 2 student reps who both advocated and endorsed to have this presentation come because they attested to witnessing the negative impact and encourage the presentation to come to the high school and town. The committee will review the presentation and consider the request of partnering with the presenter to host and also promote the presentation. But we will not do so until we actually see the presentation and make sure that it is appropriate for the parents of our town. Student reps of the committee will be sharing their presentations from their Black and Latino Studies class to the committee at our February meeting. Town members are welcome to attend. If that is of interest to you, you're welcome to join us at our meeting. We are at the Senior Center, second Tuesday of every month. And let me see, we have some upcoming events. Everyone is welcome to attend. 2 of note that we discussed that we are hosting or co-hosting include a Voices of Portland event that will be on February 21st, also at the Senior Center. And then here in the library, we have an event that we are partnering with numerous organizations on. It's called Circle for Change, Building Community, which will take place on February 24th. Details for each of these events will be on or are on currently the library's website. So we encourage you to check those out and join us if you can. We also, just as an update that was not discussed at the meeting because it happened after the meeting, right here in this room last weekend, we had a very successful event, which was our art and craft swap. We had probably about 30 to 35 residents come out, which was really great. Had about 7 or 8 people sign up for our newsletter. So we feel that we're spreading the word, getting people to come out to more town events. So we're very happy to see that. And all of the supplies that were not swapped, we were able to donate to Revive, which if you're not familiar, that's located in Middletown. It is an art and craft thrift shop, which I didn't know existed until they opened. So a lot of people that came out said, when's the next one? When's the next one? So we'll probably make this an annual event. So if you have any art supplies, please make sure you're on our newsletter so we can let you know when the next thing happens. Any questions?
Just one comment. I thank you for all the work that you do. You guys are pretty visible out there in terms of what you're passionate about. Your members are wonderful in terms of engaging the community, getting the younger folks involved as well. I commend you for that. We need more of that.
Thank you. Yeah, and our student reps are amazing. They participate, they vocalize, they go back to their schools, they bring in reports. So having them part of that process is really important, and hopefully more of them can come to meetings like this and start representing as well. Yes. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We really appreciate it. Oh, she is. All right. Okay. Let's get her up there. So, all right, Nick, work your magic. Oh, here we go. There she is. Hi, Megan.
Hi, everyone. Hello.
I'd like to introduce Megan Llewellyn of USDA. She is the
Podium.
loans specialist.
Podium.
Oh, you go up there on the microphone. Yeah, for people, for the 100 people watching at home.
Okay, I'd like to introduce Megan Llewellyn. Megan works for USDA. She's a lead loan specialist in the region for Connecticut, Mass, and Rhode Island. I don't know if that was as accurate as I can get, or does it get more specific?
Very accurate. Hi, everyone.
Okay.
Thank you for having me. As Jeff said, my name is Megan Llewellyn, and I specialize in the water and wastewater program for USDA Rural Development for Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island. Thank you again for having me. I'm looking forward to answering any questions you have about the water and wastewater program and working with the town.
So I guess I'll start with the question that's in general. So, I think we have a need. Jeff's been great about kind of walking us through some of the project process. But can you walk everyone through that's in here, what the process is, how long it normally takes? And then one of the big questions is, what's the cost per year once you pick the number and the whole bit? So kind of walk it through the process real quickly. So we
Sure.
get it, as well as residents at home that might be watching right now.
Sure, of course. Let's see. So it's a good time to reach out. This is right at the beginning of our funding season. It's an excellent time to talk with the state office. So I primarily work with our state offices in Connecticut. So this is a great person to reach out to as well. But first, we would get off with setting you up with RD Apply. So we'll start off with that. RD Apply is our system for intake for applications for USDA water and wastewater programs. We would take your engineering reports, environmental reports, financial information, and we would review your project and see where USDA Rural Development can make the best impact. So we offer low interest rate, long-term loans. So our loan terms can go for up to 40 years. The current interest rate that Portland qualifies for is 4.75%. There are no prepayment penalties on that loan. If you wanted to, we could underwrite your loan, and then the day after construction is complete, if you'd like to pay off the loan in its entirety, that's perfectly fine. Let's see, any questions on the financials? I know there's probably specific information that you guys are all looking for. What could I answer for you?
So I'll give you for instance. So if we come up with $10 million worth of projects that need to get done, what would be the carrying load for the town of Portland over, let's say, the typical term? I'm not sure if it's 30 years. I know we have a loan with you now that I believe was a 30-year that we still are paying on some. But what would walk through an example? We go through the process. It takes us 2 months, and
Yes.
we're approved for $10 million. What does it look like?
So say you're approved loan only for $10 million at 4.75%. The majority of my towns stick with the 40-year loan term. So that's what I'll base my math off of. So with $10 million over 40 years, you would be looking at a monthly payment of about $46,000 of principal and interest.
Okay. And of the loans that are given versus grants that are offered, I know it's a different time now than it may have been before with grants and funding from the federal government. What are the odds of a town like us securing some kind of grants for part of that process?
So that would depend on the presence of a health and sanitary issue. And so I'd ask you all if you have a health and sanitary issue, if you've been cited by any regulatory agency or anything like that.
Okay, Jason's nodding his head that we might be able to qualify in there. unintentionally because of the age of the system, so.
Okay. Got it. So that would be something that you would enter into your engineering report, and you would work with our state engineer in order to establish that presence of the health and sanitary issue. We have more flexibility on grant when we are remedying an issue with a health and sanitary issue. So based on your median household income, which is it's about $107,000. So that's 99% of the state of Connecticut's state non-metro median household income. So our grant eligibility is determined based off of the town's median household income. If you are between 80% and 100% of the state's median household income, you can qualify for up to 45% of grant as total project cost. Now, if the health and sanitary issue isn't there, then reasonably speaking, we're looking at about 10% of grant of total project cost. So depending on the type of health and sanitary violation that you have, you could be looking between 10 and 45%. But of course, that's based off of the engineering documentation you're providing.
Okay.
What, I was gonna say, no, one of the questions, Megan, and thank you for being with us, but how about we have some of our equipment now, because when this plant was last fully rehabbed, we have some of our equipment that's rapidly approaching end of life. Is that also a factor? Because there's a little bit more urgency in the need to replace that equipment?
I think it would depend on the type of equipment and if it's causing system failure to the system as a whole. So that's something that we would want to see in your engineering documentation. We can certainly pay for the replacement of equipment that's nearing the end of its useful life as part of your total loan and grant package. It's definitely eligible. As to if it would increase your grant percentage, I would need to see what that failure is leading to for your entire plant.
Is it a typical 3-month process from starting tomorrow with you to getting an answer?
I could see 3 months as being a good timeline. So typically I find my applicants take between 3 to 6 months to submit an application, and that's when they're ready to go. So the town is already at the point of having town meetings to discuss this. So you know that there's an issue that needs to be remedied. So I would say 3 months is very reasonable for you. A lot of it will depend on the timeline at which you complete the required application components. So your environmental report, engineering report, things like that. I would leave that up to your engineers to determine how long it'll take for them to complete those reports. But a typical USDA turnaround, once we have your completed application and we have funds in hand, would be 30 days to setting funds aside for your project.
So the grant, potentially a grant percentage is based on a household income?
Yes, that's correct. So it's based off
Would
of
it be of the users or of the town?
of the town, the borrowing entity.
Okay,
The town. Okay.
gotcha. One of the things we talked about at the last meeting as well is we have some pretty recent studies that we've done. We've had our engineers look at the process. Does that help us? Because we have, I mean, I think our last study was 6 months ago.
Yeah, July.
Yeah, July. So we have relatively recent data that reflects the current state. Does that help us? Is there anything else we should do in terms of engineering before we submit the application?
So as part of your application, you'll complete what's called a preliminary engineering report, or a PER. I'll refer to that as a PER when I describe it. So the PER covers all of the engineering components for a USDA application. And I'd be happy to send you some guidance on that from our state engineer and from our national office. And I'd also be happy to meet with your engineering firm to discuss exactly what goes into that report. But based off of our discussion the last time we spoke, I think the majority of the information that goes into the PER, it seems like the town has already prepared that with your existing engineering work.
Have you done towns similar to us, either in Connecticut or Massachusetts locally? And what's
Yes.
been the typical impact or feedback from the towns that had it done? And we're
I have a lot
after the
of
project's done and you start paying for it, what's been your experience?
I like to think that it's a good experience. I have a lot of repeat customers in Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island. I have a number of customers with between 10 and upwards of 40 loans. Some of our island projects, they are repeat customers. I enjoy working with our team. I'd like to think that you all will as well. But based off of the numbers and the number of towns that are repeat customers, I do think that this is a good program for towns to work with.
Okay.
We're not committed, are we? I mean, once we go through the PER, is it at that point, are we committed?
No,
Or
at
is it
any
just
point you can
the-
back out. As
Okay.
well too, I have had some towns where they do have a very high median household income that exceeds the state of Connecticut's. And so they choose to go through the application process. And if they don't like the loan grant split that they ultimately get, you're not obligated to accept that. You can reject the funding at any time.
That's great.
All right, that is great. Yeah.
Well, and honestly, that was one of the appeals of this and why I wanted the board to hear this because I think knowing our options, especially with everything going on, is real important. And then, understanding, because if we qualify for 10, but maybe there's 5 million that we need to do right away, or whatever the priority is, but at least we know what we qualify for. And that helps us a ton. That makes me sleep better at night, knowing that we have the resources to be able to do that. Are there any other programs that you do that we should be looking at, or any other programs you're aware of for a town like us that either Jeff or some other folks can help us with?
Well, for
Yes, so-
water and wastewater, I would definitely steer you to the WEP program that we discussed. The USDA Rural Development also has what's called the Community Facilities or CF program. Community Facilities is for towns with populations of up to 20,000. That's a loan-only program, and that is for community improvement projects. So say you need a new fire station, or if you need a new police headquarters, you need to upgrade to your school, that's something that the community facilities program can work with. So that's also a low interest rate, long-term loan with terms of up to 40 years.
Great. Right. Any questions from the audience? Any citizens in Portland that have a question? Anything online at all, Nick? Any questions? Okay. All right. Thank you very much for doing this. I mean, this is a big project we're looking at, and understanding that we've got someone here and someone at your end that can help us out, at least go through the process and get an answer. I think it's a good thing for us to consider. So
Yes, of course. I'm glad to be here. If anybody on the board or if anybody from the town has any questions, you can reach out directly to me. I have dealt with everything from a straightforward pipe replacement project to endangered species of toads that delayed projects by 24 months. So any question
yeah,
you have,
we
I
kept
can
that.
guarantee I
We've
have
had
an
that.
answer. Feel free to reach out to me. I know you all have my contact information, but if you call USDA Rural Development in Connecticut, you can get a hold of me as well.
All right, wonderful. Megan, thank you so
Thank
much.
you, Megan.
We really
Yes, of
appreciate that.
course.
Have a
Yeah, have a
wonderful
good day,
night.
everyone. Thanks.
You too now. And Jeff, I got to thank you also for knocking on the door a couple months ago and kind of starting this whole process. I didn't know that you or your organization even existed and did what you did. So I think that's fantastic.
We've been around for a while.
Mhm.
I don't know who on the board, if anyone ever remembers Atlantic States, that used to be what we developed into
Okay.
in partnership with 2 other states. So I'm happy to help in any way I can. Even if it means driving to Portland to pick up a packet of information that has to get to the engineering firm that day.
Good to go.
I'll be.
All right. We're taking notes on everything we're going to do. So
We
got
got
it.
that one written down.
Is that recorded in the minutes?
Really, I've done something
No.
to the lights before. I had to bring a whole notebook this big of some information to a place from Winstead to Middletown, I think. So, yeah, we do these. Yeah, right.
Yeah, I didn't realize I had.
All right. Well, listen, I appreciate that. Are we, any discussion about this, or do you want to just go on to the next item?
No, I think we
I think
we got
covered
we
it
got
pretty well.
a bit to digest.
What I think I'd like to do is I think we'll discuss this at another time, but I'd like to put this on the next meeting to perhaps vote to decide yes or no whether we apply for the loan, unless someone here would like to suggest a motion on that.
Wouldn't we want to see what certainly a 20,000 foot view of what this would be at, at $10 million, the assumption that we made? Maybe it's just our Tom working with Miss Providence and just kind of giving us I mean, I know at the end we can still back out, but I think it's important. I mean, just the numbers that Megan threw out, those are huge numbers.
Those are good numbers.
Okay,
Absolutely.
and I think it's, at least try to get what our, the average income is, try to see what the grant amount is gonna be, and then do the math backwards, and what does that turn into? I think we need to see that.
I agree.
We're agreeing to something that we don't know what we're agreeing to.
100%. I
Okay.
agree.
All right, then I'm
All
okay.
Okay, good stuff. All right. Let's move on to appointments of boards of commissioners. Do we have anybody?
I do. Yes, we would like to, appoint Gary Yo to the Ethics Commission. And there are 2 vacancies currently on the Ethics Commission, and we would like for Gary to be appointed to the vacancy that occurred, by Barry Rogers' resignation, so the end date is 2030. There are 2 vacancies, a 2027 end date and a 2030. So we're looking to appoint him to the 2030 end date vacancy.
You've got that? Okay, wonderful.
In terms of a motion, I'll second that, and I'll say, I believe we all got a copy of Gary's information. And I thought it was pretty impressive.
Yeah, everybody did get that, right? Because he filled the questionnaire.
Questionnaire.
Yeah, he is a professor of economics and environmental studies at Wesleyan and have been in the town
I saw that.
for many years. I think a lot of people know him.
It's great. We need more people like that to jump on and help.
Yeah.
Right, that's all you got?
It is.
All right, well said it all right. Fantastic. All right, new business.
Mike, we have to
Right, we
vote
gotta
on-
vote.
Vote.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion passes. Thank you. An enthusiastic Wednesday. All right, on to new business. We have, as each of you should know, finally filled the building official position. And as part of the process, we need to, as a board, approve that appointment to, as building officer. So I've got David on the phone right now. He's been hanging in there for the last half an hour or so. I've offered him a chance to kind of speak and explain a little bit about what he does and his background and maybe answer any questions. And then, should that go well, then we will make the vote to appoint him. But David, if you're on.
Yes.
So hold on, David, we're gonna get your smiling face up there in a second too.
Here we are.
And then, yeah, we can see you. You can hear us pretty good?
Yes.
All right. So David, if you can, tell us a little bit about your experience. I know you've been doing some stuff for the town, filling in, after Pete had left and before, but I think give us a little background on you and a little more to know you better.
Yeah. As Mike said, I'm David Smith, the newest building official for the town of Portland. I'm a ex-contractor of 38 plus years, residential and commercial construction. Kind of fell into this position as a need physically from I think we all have a best use by date on our physical capabilities. And I think that I've reached that as a contractor. So I'm looking forward to serving the town of Portland for years to come as the building official. Anything else I can say?
I will say, David's time out there, working with the business that we have has been nothing but positive, from some pretty challenging business owners out there. But he's done a good job. The feedback has been nothing but positive. He's done a great job so far. So it was easier, knowing what he's doing out there when we made that decision, when I make that decision. So I've been happy to have him. And I think he's gonna do a good job for the town, especially with everything we have going on and with all the projects. We need that position filled. It was a challenge without it, so.
Yeah, I think as being having the contractor experience for many years and dealt with many building officials in many different jurisdictions, I think that really helps build a relationship with everybody and seeing the projects get to the finish line. That's the main goal. So I'm not here to be a stick in the mud, and I want to help everybody. And that's really the thing. We want everything to come to fruition, so you can get the tax money.
What I liked about David's performance is it was work together with rather than adversarial, and I like that. You know, you got to stay on top of all the rules and the conduct, but I like that. Let's find a solution. So
So it's the opposite of our last one.
okay.
Good to know.
I thought you would approve.
Yeah.
I thought you would approve.
I've heard a couple of good stories about him so far, and that he's good with communication and flexible and working with people. And that's not something we're used to in that position.
Yes. we're working on his tech skills, but he's right along with that. He's working on that, so we got that going on.
Yeah, I think I've come a long way so far in the 2 weeks that I've been dealing with the computer. So I'm very confident that I'll be up to speed within the next few weeks.
I will tell you, it gets easier. Just telling you, it gets much easier. So
That's
100%. All right. David, thank you very much. We're about to, and by the way, this is an appointed position, which is why we're doing this. This happens every time we get another building official, but would someone like to make the motion to appoint this gentleman?
I make the motion.
All right, Denise says it. Anyone second?
I'll second.
Okay.
Bobby's got it. Tied. We'll give it to Bobby.
Give it to Bobby.
All right, give it to Bobby. All right. Any more discussion? All those in favor of appointing David Smith as our building official, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Welcome aboard, David. Now you're stuck.
Welcome, David.
Oh, thank you very much, and I appreciate it. Glad to be here.
All right,
Good
absolutely
to have
glad
you,
to have
David.
you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. Very good. You can turn off the computer now if you don't want to have us see your face anymore. It's up to you.
Okay. Have a good evening, everybody.
You
All right,
too.
good evening. In case you didn't know. All right. Very, very nice. We're flying through this tonight. This is great. Next up is a proclamation for Melvin Bray. I'm gonna have Jim handle this. There's a little bit of a back on this, but it's up to you.
Yeah, so first of all, I want to say thanks, Mike, and please say thank you to Michelle as well for putting the proclamation together. So the Lions, when we come across somebody in the town that's been doing some extraordinary work of a humanitarian nature, we like to recognize them. Fortunately, we live in a town where a lot of people step up. We have a lot of great volunteers. This proclamation is about one such gentleman. It's a proclamation to Melvin L. Bray, Humanitarian of the Year 2026. Whereas the Portland Lions have nominated Melvin Mel Bray for their Humanitarian of the Year for 2026. And after 24 years of military service and 2 tours in Vietnam, Mel retired from the United States Navy with the rank of Lieutenant Commander. And having experienced food insecurity growing up in West Tennessee, he is passionate to do his part in helping to end hunger. To achieve that, Mel has generously donated to food banks in Portland community and beyond, making a tremendous impact. I would want to break there to say that well, actually, I'm going to read the next paragraph. Throughout the years, Mel has contributed to his community by helping to provide meals not only to the Portland Food Bank clients, but also to the Middletown Amazing Grace Food Pantry and St. Vincent de Paul Soup Kitchen. And Mel supports St. Mary's Church, the Knights of Columbus, Gaylord Hospital, his fellow vets through veteran organizations, earning the respect of civic leaders and the affection of residents, joining the ranks of distinguished citizens of our community. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the town of Portland, Connecticut, along with its residents and the residents of surrounding communities, express great appreciation and admiration and gratitude for Mel's meritorious service and best wishes for many more years. And again, wishing him congratulations. Presented on the 18th day of January. That was the planned date. And obviously signed by Michael A. Pelton and the Board of Selectmen, Andrea Alfano, Dave Kosminski, John H. Dillon, Vincent Petrozello, Robert W. Hedrick Jr., and James K. Tripp. Just a couple of things is that, to put it in context, we took a quick look at all of the different constituencies that Mel's been helping for a very long time, and very conservatively estimated that he provided over 96,000 meals to people through what he has donated. So it's just very broad spectrum. I also tonight, and it's a sad moment as well, but I did get word this morning, and I want to wish condolences to his family. He has been sick for a while, and he did pass away yesterday.
No.
The Lions did notify him, basically, working with his family. He was aware that he was being honored by the town and by the Lions. It meant a lot to him that people in the community were appreciative of the work he had done, even though he's the type of person that you want to recognize, because he was the type of person that really didn't want to be. So again, heavy heart. I wish, again, condolences to his family, and I have been able to do in speaking with him, express our appreciation for all the work he's done and all the people that he's helped along the way. So, thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Jim. All right. On to refunds of excess payments. We just have one tonight.
I'll make a motion for a refund of excess payment to Nissan Infinity Lease Trust LLC. $188.01.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Jim. All those in favor?
Uh,
Opposed, abstention, motion passes. All right, status and committee reports. Start from my left.
Okay, that would still be.
So you.
Just really, just a couple of quick things from, really from the water and sewer side. I was not able to attend the meeting. I had, I have a couple of those conflicts that have popped up this year. But I think it's, good to note that the contract that we had approved, with the MDC has signed it. It's gone through the approval process, not only from their water board, which it approved, but also their final level authority that they had to go through to approve it. And my understanding is that that has been approved and that they have signed it. And I think the final copy, is just waiting for your signature, Mike.
Yes.
So we, basically we're through that particular process, and now we're gonna be on to, I think we have to kind of aggressively, start the next negotiating phase, right? We need to start thinking, what are the options for the long-term contracts? What would that look like, and kind of get into that process, to keep us in a good position as we move forward. And I think the only other, update is that, and I will say that this to me it's a little frustrating with the delays. We need to have the process moving as seamlessly and as quickly as possible. Unfortunately, we did get an update that the modeling that is being done for the well, which we were told we would have in the middle to late January, we're now being told we will have it by February 10th. So I know that'll be one of my phone calls tomorrow to express my concern and the urgency of getting us that information. We need this project moving as fast as possible on all fronts. That's all I got right now.
Okay, thank you.
Can we ask, what's the process? Sorry, guys. Can we ask a question? Or is it just?
No, absolutely.
Oh, okay. Just
Can't guarantee I
just
can
learning
answer.
here. So at one point, we said that we wanted to have someone come in here, maybe not monthly, but certainly every 2 months, to kind of just one person, one belly button, who shows up, gives us a high level. What are the critical milestones? Where are we? Are we on track? And just the same format, so that we don't have to relearn. And we get comfortable asking the same questions over and over again, so we can see this. Have we identified someone?
Yeah,
One person.
Yeah, I think that I think this is a place where we need to work with Jason, because we know he's around. And I think we need to sit down, and we actually need to map out. We know what all these milestones are, and we've got them kind of all laid out, what we need to do. We need to get those into a project format. And we need to have it built in with a timeline, and we need to start be tracking those. And as I've said to Mike, it's gotta be, Mike's got a board in his office where, the whiteboard's the critical projects. And to me, in big, bold letters, highlighted with red, getting the water
Next
online,
step.
it's gotta be at the top of that list, and it's gonna be something we're pounding on just relentlessly. So I think we need to have that team put, basically that conversation. But to me, I would think the right person for that would be Jason. He's gonna have all the different interconnects. He's already with the town, and he's gonna be talking with all the different people. And I'm sure he's happy that I would nominate him for that. But I think it's the right.
And that's
place
fine,
for-
right? So,
He's got to take our MDC contract now.
Yeah.
And build backwards from the end date.
Yep.
And make sure this is complete before that end date,
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
way before that end date.
Absolutely. I mean, I think we want our target as close as, we absolutely want our target to be, absolutely no later than June of 2028. But to me, we would want to have this water system online a minimum of 3 months prior to then, so that we can be, testing it,
Yeah,
all-
'cause
all
you
the
know
different
it's
things
not
you
gonna be
do.
flawless.
Right,
No.
there will be.
No, it never, it never is.
And I will tell you, we had a meeting with Sarah from the water side, going through what we need to do between now and then. So we have a pretty clear idea what the timeline is.
Yeah.
And for example, the next step is on the 20th, we get the RFP back for the pump house and all of the infrastructure.
Yeah.
So we'll pick someone, so it matches, and on paper it works, but you're right, there's gonna be something that's gonna come up. There's gonna be some kind of issue that we have to make sure we're staying at, because we may get ahead on some things and something's gonna bump us back.
Well, right, and I think the issue is, I think that we, in working with, in terms of working with DPH and understanding the timelines of MDC. And with the information that we've already gotten, from Jason, we have a pretty good idea of, talking with Rich, we understand a lot of what we need to do in the process. We understand the predicted timeframes, but what it needs to all get put into that project format. And then we need to have one person who's basically in charge of reporting on it and making sure that we're drilling down on it, like we're pushing on it every day.
Well, I think we need to ask Jason then to give us a timeline.
Yep.
Of everything and what our goals are.
Yeah.
So then we can all see it and make sure that we're staying on top of it.
I completely agree with that.
Absolutely.
We actually have talked about that exactly. We need to, it needs to have a lot of eyes on it.
And there'll be 1,000 lines for sure, but we certainly don't have the time, nor that's not what we do for a living. But it probably boils down to 10 critical milestones, and that's what he needs to report on.
Yeah,
Awesome.
and I'll give you a good case in point, right? We expected to have the report by the end of the year,
Mhm.
and then by mid to late January, now it's
Yeah,
February
it's
10th.
late.
We can't afford,
Right.
we can't be giving up time like that.
And this is the first step.
Well, fortunately, there are some parallel things that are happening in parallel. But again, that's the other thing, that having this get into a project format where we can look at it, there will be items that, as you're doing that, we can say, okay, well, there's no reason why these 3 things have to be done in series. These can all be done in parallel, right? And we can set those. I mean, but we've got to get it to that level.
Good points.
Okay, next.
So what do you think?
Library board, the meeting, on, when did I go to that one? January 15th. Was fairly quick and straightforward. But the one thing that came out of there was the election of a new chair, a vice chair, and a corresponding secretary. The new chair of the library board is Ralph Zampano.
Nice.
The vice chair is Melissa Kelly, and the corresponding secretary is Betsy Graziano. They discussed just some basic stuff. There was discussion about the update on the American 250 committee, and the secretary there is the same secretary we have, who happened to have good information on the 250. And the festival, I believe, was scheduled for May 16th from 10 to 4 p.m. So that was what came out of that meeting. The Board of Education meeting I attended on January 20th. There was some interesting information, but the thing everybody wanted to hear about was Bob Shea reported the boiler is going to begin to be put in at BIS. They're going to start on January 26th, 27th with disassembly of the old boiler and removing the parts of the boiler. They've got a small crane, truck mounted crane. They're going to have to start pulling those out of that small crawl space. The piece that has been waiting on, and apparently it's still being waited on, but they will start the project anyway with anticipation to get everything ready to go. The jacket, the outer jacket for the furnace, the boiler, is still on order. He anticipates a couple weeks and that will be in. So that process is moving along. And then he said there will be some fairly extensive testing of the boiler. That there are 2 boilers in the school. We're replacing one of them. The other one, knock on wood, is still running well. So the intention is to continue to run the 2 of them in tandem for a period of time to make sure they work out all the kinks. He said there's an awful lot of wiring and computer work and everything with the new one that's going in. But I thought that was finally some good news. And
They're replacing the second one after that?
he said, if I understood correctly, this is going to be the one that's going to run the show.
Because I thought they were putting the new one in, and then afterwards they were replacing the other old one. So there's 2 new.
Yeah. We ordered 2.
Furnaces.
We
We did,
authorized-
okay,
Yeah.
you could be right,
Okay.
but I guess maybe they're going to continue, they're going to test
Yeah, I
the
understand.
first one.
So in case there's something wrong, the old one
Correct.
will run.
And then once everything's good there, then the second.
Then
Okay.
Right. And then there was just a few courses that were approved, which they have an AP computer science course, which has been approved. An intro to computer science course, which was also approved. They said it's basically a revamp of an existing cybersecurity course, which a lot of the kids are very interested in. I guess that's the wave of the future. And if anybody wants to go on in the area of computer science, The cybersecurity is a big course that they want. And then the third course that was approved is a half-year course in oceanography. And they currently have a course which deals, it's more of a biology-based course. And the question was asked, how this one differs. This is more about geology of the oceans and plate tectonics and all that kind of stuff. And all these they said the kids are all been clamoring for them. So it sounded like a good deal. Those are pretty much the high points of it. And do you want me to speak to what you and I just came from, or?
Yeah, I think let's kick the ball off of that.
When everybody stood in line at the new Education Specifications Development Task Force, the one to review the plan that came out for the schools with the last group, I guess everybody kind of took a step back and I didn't, so I'm the chairman of it. That's why I apologize, I was late. That meeting ran a little bit. Tonight, we had a review and discussion on the order of magnitude basic conceptual design budget for Valley View and Gildersleeve schools, and then a discussion on the plans for HVAC and roof work at the secondary schools. The way it was left is that the superintendent is going to begin working on the paperwork for the plan of submittal. They're in the next regular meeting of the Board of Education is February 10th. There's hope that it will be voted on by the Board of Ed at that meeting and then begin to move forward. There will be discussion amongst the Board of Ed because Laurel Steinhauser brought up the fact that, this is a fairly very detailed project, and she didn't feel that it was appropriate to place it all out and ask for a vote in that one night. So it sounded when we left, there was discussions about having another meeting prior to the February 10th meeting dedicated only specifically to this discussion, and then to try to have a vote by the Board of Education on February 10th. Just to put out some numbers, as some of you might know, there was a question we discussed in previous meetings. There were meetings with the state to try to get a confirmation from them on what our state reimbursement will be. And the superintendent got a letter back, and I can attest to this since I work for the state. I know how state letters go. And, they basically confirmed it, but, it's a general letter. It's not a really specific one. However, the reimbursements as it stands right now, and this is just the information that's coming off this very preliminary document put together by Downs Construction, the total proposed cost of a Valley View build to new is $47.5 million, with all the state reimbursement that we're eligible for, and there actually may even be additional that we're eligible for. This is just, as he said, a very conservative estimate. The net estimated cost to Portland on the Valley View 47.5 million is 14.2 million. And Gildersleeve School, which would be, again, we found that in discussions, initially they talked about to save the space in that building, the roughly 6,000 square feet extra, and not lose that for future growth. Initially, they were talking about capital improvements, and they found that with the reimbursements that were available from the state, it was actually more cost effective to also do a build to new on Gildersleeve. The total proposed budget gross cost on that is $52.3 million. And again, the conservative estimate, potentially a few more state reimbursement dollars, but conservatively, it's $23.1 million. And then the cost for the high school repairs of the roof and the HVAC system, Bob Shea estimates they got it down to about $8 million, and they estimate roughly 50% of that will be state reimbursed. So it's about a $4 million cost to the town for that. But again, what I'll do is I'll keep my eye out for when the Board of Education sets that additional meeting, because I'm the liaison anyway, so I'll end up going to that one as well as the other one. But I'll make sure that, Mike, we can get that information out to this board, and
Absolutely.
if people want to watch and see what it's all about.
Yeah, no, we need that. It's a big spend, but the rebate and reimbursement rate is.
It's
back-
huge.
It is, and
Yeah.
it brings it from something we wouldn't even think about to something that is doable.
Well, as an example, the extra square footage on Gildersleeve School that we all agreed, the committee all agreed that we wanted to retain for future growth. But that put us over, we basically would have to take a financial hit from the state reimbursement on that, because that was above and beyond what they saw as a square footage they would fund. With that extra square footage, we also could qualify for a grant for that square footage alone if we used it for special education purposes. And then that would put I think it's close to 90% reimbursement
Yeah.
on that square footage if we go that way.
Because for Gildersleeve, didn't they say the covered walkway for the entrance is counted as square footage?
The plan, that's the first question I asked tonight. When the architects drew this up, the first thing I said, is that cover gone? And they said, yes. They took that cover off in the plan, which eliminated a lot of square footage automatic.
Absolutely.
So I would I'll keep an eye out, and I'll let you all know when that Board of Ed meeting happens, if you want to listen in or watch or whatever. But I think there's a lot of good information, but again, the clock is ticking if we want to get that information out there and have public forums.
Mhm.
And the other thing I will say, I think you might have still been there, Mike, before you had to come here. It was suggested by Charles, who's we've been talking about
Yeah,
having
please.
some, face-to-face public forums where folks like, I keep using you, Kim, as an example, because you said you want to hear from the people that you trust, people that you know, and explain it. And we need to do that. But Charles suggested it might be good to have at least 2 of those presentations and do one of them at Valley View in their meeting area, and do one of them at Gildersleeve, so that the building could be open to the public, and the public can actually walk around those buildings and see
And
what
actually
everybody's
see
talking
what they're talking about.
which I thought was a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was a great idea, because you
Yeah.
see it, you understand it, and you know what it's gonna be.
Yeah.
I had a
Yeah,
couple.
and what I was gonna say, and I think that's another one of those where we need to work backwards. We know we want to vote on that
Mhm.
on May 11th. We know we have to have that voted as referendum 30 days right ahead of time, because it's not a federal, so we know that we're gonna be looking at the first meeting in April.
We
So-
we did exactly that in
Yeah.
that meeting,
Yeah.
and we worked it back. We pretty much said, this is all gonna be done by April 1st.
It's gotta be done by April 1st, which means we probably really have about a
Right,
6-week
it's already
window
almost-
Right.
in the middle of, if the school board's gonna vote on this on
On the
February
10th of
10th,
February, they've
We're-
got to have the
we're
dates and
talking about a
everything
fix-
scheduled by then.
we're talking about a 6 or 7 week window. We need to actually start scheduling the public forums so that people will have them on their calendars.
So we're doing exactly what we said we weren't going to do as a town.
Yeah.
Was draw this out and not give enough time to educate
Yeah.
the public.
Well, right.
Because what did we have for the last one? We had like 8 months. And they voted it down because they didn't like certain things.
Yeah, I think the problem with the last one is I think it finally got sent to referendum. We got the final, everything nailed down at the beginning of June, and on June 28th, we had to vote on it. And then you had 5 months and that was odd, right? Because we had to vote on it because we were applying for the state.
Mhm.
So I think we voted on it at the end of June. And of course, the referendum wasn't until November, right? So,
And they also
But-
said that because it was an election year, we tried to do it then. The limiting period of time that you have to allow between when you have your bonding question confirmed or voted on and when you actually have the referendum, I believe was a much longer period of time for a presidential election and for a
yeah,
regular.
60 versus 30, I think it doubled the blackout,
So,
window.
a lot of this delay came from this document right here. They needed all the confirmation numbers. They needed to find out, all the other incidentals with taxes and how Brainerd Place will impact it, how the water will impact it, all these other things. But it was said tonight again that the previous committee, if Carl Johnson was there tonight, he said they
Yeah.
did their due diligence. We looked at every scenario, so I hope that Carl and Bob Shea and others were available in these face-to-face meetings to go through exactly what they found, what their recommendations were, and why they came up with the plan that they did.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping we can get I would like to see us get stuff on the books
Mhm.
in February, because obviously March starts to get a little frenetic with, with budgets and a lot of other conversations that are happening. I think it's, getting some things on the books in February to start sitting down with people, with public to go over the plan, let them ask questions. I can tell you that when we did the Route 17 complex, we got a lot of great questions. There were little adjustments that were made based on some of the feedback. And all of that was helpful to get to a place where the public was comfortable to go forward. And we need to take that approach here. So, but we're gonna have about a 6-7 week window to do that. We can't waste time on it.
No, I agree. Well, there's a couple of things that give me hope and confidence with this round. One is the information and the numbers, and John, you can attest to it also. I had asked, are these numbers safe? Are these like, can we be confident in these numbers? Are these worst case scenarios in terms of reimbursement rate and cost? And they are.
They said
So-
they're very conservative.
Yeah, so for example, if you look at Gildersleeve, it would be constructed 2 years after we start Valley View. And they've factored in like another $1.5 million, $2 million of just inflation.
Well, that's what I was gonna ask,
Right.
because this is,
Right.
almost a 4-year construction between the
Right.
two schools.
They calculated in the additional cost
Right.
forward, but they also said, I think I don't know if you were there,
At the same
they
time.
said that if you can be finishing up your Valley View and doing the final pieces of Valley View, if there's a way you can do some groundbreaking and
Right.
some work on Gildersleeve and tighten the timeline, you can actually save more money.
And that's exactly to the point where,
Well, does it make more sense to do the more expensive school first?
it's,
Because you're talking at least a year before construction starts, and then 4 years of construction, that's 5 years away.
Well, I think some of that had to do, I'm not an educator, so I'm not gonna speak to that, but I think some of that had to do with having to move the kids around, and I think it was easier to start with Valley View first.
right. And also reimbursement rate too, so, the reimbursement rate is higher with the Valley View, so there were a couple other factors in there, but that's a really good question though.
Can you ask, I know the assessor has told us before, but like what we are currently receiving from Brainerd Place and what he predicts our taxes will be for,
I already have that,
okay,
It's already
and
been
how
done.
about for the spa?
right, I have that for both of them,
Okay.
we specifically.
And
put
that's
that, so I'll
that's
share
part of the
that.
information that we want to have in this
Right,
documentation.
so,
Well, that's the thing is a lot of people looked at those two developments as, okay, this is gonna fund our infrastructure.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Water, sewer, a lot of other things around town. Now it's gone. It's all going to the school plus.
So without going into the numbers, because part of we have to factor in, we're doing a reevaluation right now. There's other things going on in town in terms of cost, but roughly, we get about $500,000 to $700,000 extra from Brainerd Place and the spa a year.
Mhm.
And that's only gonna go up as we go on. And if it's a 5-year, 6-year project from now till, after we start and whatnot, by that time, many of the tax abatements that were on there will be gone or closer to full taxes. So that's only gonna go up. So, so it starts off as maybe $500,000 or close to it and works its way to $1 million by the time this project's over, just on those things that we know. And it excludes a couple other things that might be coming, all the businesses coming to that project.
Well, as it was explained tonight too, as you build these
Question.
schools, it's kind of a bell curve.
Right.
Yeah.
The money, you start paying out more, but then when you make your monthly payments and the state starts giving you your reimbursement that offsets those costs, it starts to be a little bit easier. You get some time to
Right.
breathe.
And there's a whole science to doing that. So you take off some of the costs in the beginning. So that one will be at least 1 or 2, or maybe every meeting talking about the money, but
But that was the other thing we discussed too, was a 20-year or 30-year to pay
Right.
off the school.
right.
We knew 20 was too much on the secondary schools,
Right.
and last I knew, they were pushing for this to be 30.
So just only comment on, and I don't support either one yet. But with the current one that we had, they refied the high school
Mhm.
project several times, going less and more. So it's common for schools from what Pryor said and Downs, that you look at that and you can adjust it. Sometimes you go longer, like the woman that we're talking about for the sewer,
Mhm.
40 years, what they suggest, you could do it sooner. You're often better going longer and then refinancing as rates change. So that's part of the factor, but that one I'll be listening to closely too, because I don't know what the best thing for Portland would be. It depends on obviously what the
Well,
cost.
it's not the
Yep.
refinancing to save money on the percentage, it's the length of it.
Right.
Because the high school, middle school was 20 years.
Right.
And at year 15 through 17, it needed repairs.
Right.
Hmm,
And we never did those repairs. We're still talking about them now.
We did
Right.
very few repairs
So
in the whole process. yeah.
that's
my
the $8
concern
million
is-
dollars.
Yeah, that's my concern is we're gonna have, say, we do a 30-year for this and we have 10 years left to pay, and then all the schools are gonna start needing repairs in some way or another.
I agree with you. I think my gut says with the additional tax money we're getting from the new businesses, we're probably better off shooting for 20 no matter what. But that's what we'll need to see when we look
Yeah.
at the numbers. So I think there'll be a lot of push for that as well, Bob.
But long story short, I think in the next 45 to 60 days, this is gonna be starting to move very, very quickly.
Yeah,
Has to, no
Yeah.
question.
I think what were we talking about, Mike, today? We have about 107 days.
No, we have 110 days or 3 months and 2 weeks, or 6 regular Board of Selectmen meetings.
Yeah, so when we take 30 off of that clock, we have 77 days. We really got to get those
Right.
sessions scheduled and get people.
Absolutely. So this data right now, the numbers that we got today, was the committee fine with this being shared?
Yeah, I mean, it was a public meeting.
Okay,
So, I mean, I
So-
don't see a problem with
So
it.
we all have this data now, we all have the numbers here, and we all can speak to it in terms of what you feel and what your position is. We need to share the information and get that out there, and as we get more information, like for someone like yourself, like what's gonna cost what's the tax rate gonna be for me? Are my taxes gonna go up $400?
Well, the way it was left at the meeting, Mike, is I think Charles, the superintendent, is gonna come talk to you.
Right.
Because it was discussed that discussions have to be had quickly on getting all the data together.
Right.
And getting the data that needs to be printed, get, locations firmed up and times and dates scheduled for those meetings. All that has to happen.
Yeah, so
soon.
all these contractors are working together to provide us with that material as well. So they're gonna put down that material. They're gonna work out what the bond costs are. We talked to bond council next. So you've got 5 or 6 different things weaved together that we need to coherently be able to tell you or anyone out there, here's what the cost is gonna be for you as a homeowner or as a renter, whatever the case is, and why that's important. If you don't have any kids, why should you, that owns a home that's paying $4,000 a year, why is 4,500 now okay, or 4,100? Because it makes it better.
I have a question for John. I'm just asking John because
Yeah.
you attend all this and you might know more. Our total then is 107 million total cost.
The total, the two I gave you, the Valley View, the gross cost, the Valley View gross
Yeah.
cost, the Gildersleeve gross cost, the $8 million gross for the high school. And then the previous committee allocated $2 million to BIS.
So we're at almost 110. It's
Now,
19,
the BIS,
9.7.
BIS is not reimbursable because that's not gonna be a school. That's us. That's the town that
Mhm.
owns that. The high school one, as I said, they estimate 52% reimbursement. And then the other 2 schools, they're gonna try to press and get as much reimbursement as they can out of them. Gildersleeve, for example, like I said, that extra square footage, if they leverage additional reimbursement and have one of the special ed programs located there, I think it can be, close to 85%
Well,
reimbursement.
this was one question I had that I talked with Mike about before. We can only have one school question on the vote. What if we had another question of should the town keep or sell Brownstone to get the public's input on that? Because we're not taking into account how much it's gonna cost to keep and renovate and keep that building up as a town building.
Well,
$2 million isn't gonna touch it.
the $2 million, the $2 million was specifically identified to upgrade the electrical system.
Mhm.
Because Bob Shea said, even if you wanted to put air conditioning or anything through that building, the electrical system needs to be upgraded in order to do that. So we had one of the possibilities was in the short term to move Park and Rec down there, move these other places. If they want to put air conditioning units in every room, the electrical would have to be upgraded to handle that. That was really the purpose of that $2 million to do that, because the heating system is replaced, the windows have been replaced.
Well,
There's solar on the
the
roof.
furnaces are gonna be replaced, but not the rest of the heating system.
True.
They said they expected that all the pipes should be replaced in the original building for heating pipes, because they're so old that
Well,
they're
and-
past life expectancy.
And again, to your question, I'm only hesitating about asking that question on on a referendum, because that would make people assume that that was something that's gonna happen right away. And remember that one of the reasons that previous committee chose this to be, amongst other reasons, to be the building that we give up, is because that allows us the swing space.
Mhm.
So for over the 4 or 5 years that this school project is gonna happen, that building is still gonna be utilized to swing kids through.
Yeah.
Personally, I think that period of time gives this town a lot of opportunity to get that feedback, to understand what you're gonna do with that building, and to determine whether you wanna bring town offices there, if you wanna continue to, in a.
But even if it's not on this one, I think we do need it as a question. Cause we always talk about feedback. We sent
Yeah,
out
no, I agree.
the town survey.
I just
And-
don't want that question
on the-
to be appearing that we're gonna take action on it right away. They have to understand
Yeah.
that that's the swing.
But on the last referendum vote, everyone thought it was a sure win.
Right.
Because all the surveys they put out and, they got everyone's opinion on it.
Yeah.
And it was the complete opposite.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. No, it's like, if the question's there, as long as there's a preface in there that, with the understanding that we're saving money on this project because we're using this as a swing space
Mhm.
for these children while we're upgrading these 2 schools. So it gives you some time to decide what you're gonna do, because that's gonna be full of kids for 3, 4, possibly 5 years.
Yeah.
Yes, I think the other part of that is that, I always worry, I'm not sure how I feel about it. I think at some point, we definitely have to ask that question, Otto, right, to get that feedback. But we know we've got 4 or 5 years before we can actually put that in motion. And I also look at it, and the conditions may change. We could ask that question now based on current conditions. And 2 years down the road, the right answer may be completely different. We're gonna have to ask that again. And I think part of that is having a good, I think we need to, one of the things we've got to be able to do is articulate some thoughts in terms of what we may do with the building.
Mhm.
I think people need to know it's not going to be left dormant. I think they really need to understand.
My question is now then, if we're putting $2 million in it from this.
Yeah.
Do we have to invest the $2 million for it to last the 5 years that we need it? Or are we just gonna throw $2 million into it and in 5 years, it was a waste of $2 million?
Well, the question was asked in this meeting tonight. The question was asked of Bob Shea. When he said that is for upgrading the electrical to be able to handle air conditioning and he said if right now, if somebody wanted to put an air conditioner in every classroom, it'd be questionable whether the electrical system would handle.
And that air conditioning is not part of this 2 million. The 2 million is just for the electrical.
Yeah, when I say air conditioning, he just talked about window units.
Yeah.
That's all he was
Right.
talking. But even that, at that
That's
kind of drop.
that's what I'm saying. If this passes.
Right.
We're automatically putting $2 million into biz for the next 5 years to get 5 years out of it.
Or more. If you're
Yeah.
upgrading an electrical system, you don't need to replace it in 5 years. It's unless somebody comes in there and decides they want to gut the place.
But that's what I have a problem with is if we don't know what we're doing with the building in 5 years, I don't want to put $2 million into it for no reason.
So did you guys talk about it after I left a little bit more
A
about
little
that?
bit. The $2 million for this is, I think that's gonna have to be a separate question. anyway.
This is what it sounded like to me, in just discussions before then is the $8 million for the roof, getting 4 million of, half of it reimbursed.
Mhm.
I understand that. So we talked about 2 and 8 before for $10 million.
Right.
But the discussion that I heard tonight and previous was that because we're doing run rate to new on the 2 schools and it's gonna be 5 years, that could be something that could either be, worked on afterwards or, we could come up with a plan, but that wasn't something that needed to be spent right now or part of this.
Okay.
And I did want to bring one thing to that kind of popped up with this whole thing. The last referendum that failed, I think it was 68 million on the ballot, but I think it was 36 or was it 37 was the net for the town? What was the number back then? 37?
It was gonna be about 36.
30, so let's assume it's 36. And that was a pretty singular solution, right? It was just that there was no money for improvements at the high school, middle school. It was just that. What I like about this plan and what it distills down for me is you've got 2 schools you've got a higher reimbursement for Valley View. So this is $107 million total for $8 million in roofing reimbursement rate, 4 million. And the two schools renovate to new, getting them newer schools that now can be maintained better over the years. And that total cost, net cost for the town is $41 million, only $5 million more. I say only, but it's 41 versus 36 before, and this is comprehensive. So
Well, and this includes the high school, which the other one.
yeah, includes the high school money.
Well, this is, my other question is, that $8 million, is that just for HVAC at the high school, middle school? Because they talked about that, I thought one of the schools needed a roof as well.
Mine
That's
was
the
that was
roof
roof.
too.
That was
Okay,
roof.
so
That's roof and HVAC.
Yeah.
so there's nothing else that school needs.
It was the previous committee worked with Bob Shea,
Was like the
and
two
Bob
numbers.
was able to cut that down substantially by moving a lot of that to budgeting as annual capital improvement,
Right.
Okay.
The other
capital maintenance. He said that tonight. Bob said at the meeting, he says, we got to make sure. He says, I don't like to call it capital improvements because capital improvements makes you think it's going to get better. He says it's capital maintenance, because when you're constantly chasing that dollar down the street, when you're all said and done, you still have the same building you started. With the renovate to new, because they said for Gildersleeve, for example, I said, well, when they talked about masonry, I said, does that money include like repointing the brick? And they said, no, that includes taking the wall down and rebuilding the brick. So in a capital maintenance project, you could potentially be repointing all around the brick building. In the plan that's being proposed, you're putting a new brick building on.
The proposal for the high school, does this give Bob the two-pipe system that we should have had in the first place? So it stops our moisture and mildew issue in the building?
Yeah, I believe it does. I mean,
So it's
Bob,
not just replacing the units, it's upgrading
It's
to the
upgrading.
better system.
yes. Yeah.
To get rid of our dehumidifiers that they were running around. the
Bob
school.
developed the plan that was proposed to the group. So,
Okay.
yeah, it's roof and HVAC.
Right.
Is that $8 million, and he was able to cut it down substantially by dealing with some of the other things in an annual basis rather than having to dump it all in one.
Because he was well aware that that was a big problem. So
Yeah.
that was one of the critical ones. So.
Yeah, and Bob, I think the first part of this one, yes, 41.3 million, right, is the after, right, is basically the cost after reimbursements. 107.8 is the cost before. So it's about, the costs are 38.3%, or the net effective of the reimbursements would be 61.7. So that's better than the 56% we were looking at last year, which helps offset some of the inflation that we've had to deal with since.
And the big thing with saving Gildersleeve was to allow ourselves that extra space for room for growth. And we have not given away, because part of the plan was if you want to get all the state money, you had to rip that extra square footage off, and the committee said, no, we're not doing that.
Right. No, and listen, there's been a lot. The other thing that gives me confidence is there's been a lot of people paying attention. You're paying attention. People out there are paying attention. They're watching, so rewatching it. I've had more conversations about this issue than anything else. So, and it's because we've been through a couple committees. We talked about it. The referendum failed before for reasons that we identified. But to me, this plan solves a lot of problems and still builds in enough to be able to, with the savings, we haven't even talked about the savings once it's done, that you now have money for capital improvements that have to be in there. So from my point of view, I want to make sure there's always money available for capital improvements across the board, so we maintain these schools if we're going to be investing this much in it. But it was interesting here, maintenance plan versus capital improvements plan. And I will give a shout out to Ben and some of the folks that were just wanting to do capital improvements only. And I thought the exercise was going to be kind of a pain in the ass, I guess.
Going through that bar chart was a necessity.
That was a pleasant surprise because it was good, because I think Ben and others that said just throw some money at it, but the money that we throw out would not be reimbursable, and the cost became so high that it wasn't sustainable, and you're still fixing up an old building or adjusting an old
The
cost.
construction costs, they said, average 4 to 5% a year increase.
So I think
You're chasing it constantly.
100%. And I think a number of people that were on that, let's just fix up what we have, now realize that we've let it go for such a long time, they can't do that. And with the reimbursement rates that we have, I think, a real golden opportunity to get a great deal of work done on money that we paid to the state and paid to the feds that we get back on a project that makes our town better. So,
The timeline concerns me. to get to what's.
Get the information out.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's very concerning. I think it's
We-
short.
we
I
stepped out.
think, you know, if there's missteps there, I mean, we're practically February now, so, and that was a big, you know, we heard that, or we all heard it, that people didn't have information last time. So if we,
This is something that needs like multiple articles, flyers in the River East, Facebook community page, everywhere that somebody looks, so they can't say that they didn't know about it.
Oh, yeah.
it's in this window of time that's like this big.
Well, what I said
Yeah,
last
we've
time
also-
too, I mean, we're talking right now about, they talked at the meeting tonight about developing and putting out written material, but specifically having at least two, possibly more public forums, face-to-face forums. That did not happen last time. And I think,
And there was pushback against that. Remember?
Yeah.
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 So I can promise all of you that I will be screening this from the rooftops and setting up as many of these learning sessions, educational sessions, you know, question and answer sessions with people everywhere, all across town. I'll be talking to.
well, Charles is coming
encourage-
to set dates.
100%, and I encourage.
Here's my question for Charles, because he said it wasn't possible last year. If this passes in May, are we leaving all the schools open this fall and losing another year of saving his $600,000 to $700,000 a year by closing a school?
I know that question has been answered before. I think that the only thing that could happen immediately would be moving the sixth graders up to secondary schools at the high
Good
school.
question.
Because then you just have fifth grade left at biz.
Right.
So that's another year that we're not saving Charles's $700,000 estimate.
Well, the thing is, you have to, this is step one, then the application has to be into the state has to review and approve it. A building committee has to be established, an
Mhm.
architect has to be hired. So,
Well, I understand. This is predicting that they're gonna start in the fall of 27. So
Right.
that's one more school year.
correct,
Right.
If the next school year, a school can be closed for a year while there's no construction going on, we would save $700,000 in the Board of Ed budget that Bob Shea could have for projects at the high school, middle school.
the only way you're gonna close that school is to move the kids. You have to
You have to move 2 grades, 5th and 6th.
you got to move the sixth graders to the high school, and then you have to move the fifth graders somewhere, or ultimately, whatever school you're taking out first, which I think is Valley View.
Yes.
The Valley View kids have to come down, as I understand it, to BIS.
No, I thought Gildersleeve was moved, they were
They're
rotating.
rotating them around?
Yeah.
So in
Because
any event,
Gildersleeve
the-
used to be a kindergarten
The
through
size of
5th grade.
bathrooms.
right,
The
right.
toilet.
So there's a lot of moving parts to this thing. It's like setting up the battlefield. Everything has to be played just right.
But if we can do it a year early and save $700,000, which we should have done last year, because we should have had a school closed for the last 10 or 15 years and we haven't, because nobody wanted to do it, because they didn't want to stir up an argument in town.
Right.
We just keep wasting $700,000 every year we have a school.
Right.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
So.
But again, like I said, I'm not an educator, so I don't know what the state requirements are for classrooms and everything else. So if they're getting some kind of a waiver to move these kids into that temporary classroom, you know, that may not meet all the requirements, but they're doing it because it's a build project.
Mhm.
And I don't know how that would work if you're moving them ahead of time. I don't know.
Plus the school you would have to close is Biz, because that's the one that's gonna close, and then you need it back open because that's your swing space. So I don't,
Why
Yeah.
not just rotate the kids a year early?
what do you,
Move 6th grade up and then move the kids into the school they're gonna be for the next 2 years of construction. Just do it a year early.
Yeah,
it's gonna be in Biz,
Yeah,
yes.
but were you,
you can close Valley View, just move the grades.
oh, you're saying.
Yeah.
Oh, I think, I don't know, I mean, I don't know, I hear.
No,
what you're
that's a
saying.
question I want to ask for
Right,
Charles.
it's a good
Yeah,
question.
Because
But I
we
think
asked it last year and he said, no, that he wouldn't do it.
I think it's a big, the time frame that he would need to like have to make that happen is what I remember hearing.
I do remember he was concerned about the young kids there as well. That was another concern he had about having the young kids on Main Street.
They're gonna be
But-
there anyways.
No, I understand. But that
They're
was, but
great.
that
They're
was,
gonna be there
that
for
was,
2 years.
but that was his concern about it last year. I know that because he mentioned it in multiple meetings that
Mm.
he didn't
Definitely
want,
good.
he would not want to be here if that's.
It's a
gonna
lot of
happen.
movement.
Definitely a
Yeah.
good question for us to be asking in
yeah,
January
Dr.
versus
Green.
June.
But,
Yeah.
but the good thing though is that in 110 days, hopefully, the voters in town think it makes sense as well. And then we just hightail it from there and do the best we can. Again, it's worst case, so anything we can do to speed up the timeline
Mhm.
and make that happen faster and do things together is what we want to try to do.
I
So-
mean, I said to, I'll just last thing I'll say, I said to, at the meeting up there tonight, I think what needs to happen, this is where I suggested Charles talk with you, Mike. I know they want to get printed material together, but I said, what should happen right away is that the locations and the dates and the times for the public forums should be scheduled and should be publicized. So that, you know, then it's being driven. And if it takes you a couple more weeks, get your written material together, but at least you publicize them, people know when those meetings are gonna be, when those dates are gonna be.
That's my
Give me an idea.
concern. The
Exactly.
timeline, it's a very
It also,
small
It's
window.
condensing.
it also, by the way, puts a, you know,
Flame under the keister?
absolutely,
Yes.
that's well stated, so.
Very well stated.
Okay.
All right, so yeah, so what's my update?
Wow.
Good update, Joe.
That was mighty fine.
Yeah,
I think we just covered half of informal discussion.
Yeah. All right, you're up. Andrea.
okay, yeah, I don't have anything near that. The only thing that I would say for committee update is I did attend my first meeting of the Economic Development Commission last Tuesday, and not much to report. As all of you know, there were a couple new members. So Mary Dickerson was appointed as the chair of that commission, which is a great thing. And Dan basically, I think, just wanted to give them information to get started, because again, there's new members. So he gave similar updates to what he gave to us at the last Board of Selectmen meeting, and they have a bit of a focus, which is a good thing, on their input and the need for the POCD, the Plan of Conservation and Development, so. And I'm gonna attend the senior advisory next Thursday.
Thank you. Right, Vinny?
I'm gonna talk quick because I know we just want to save some time here. On the Planning and Zoning Commission, basically, yes, they are going forward. I mean, with the POCD. They've got their surveys, they got the questionnaires. They're gonna be having a public comment. Our consultant, TYCHE, is gonna be putting together a updated plan for us. There's some discussion of whether we maybe want to have a workout event to try to summarize it, but at the end of the day, they're looking for an easy to understand plan, plain English that is easily deployable, and go tactical on it. That's really what they're doing. With regards to the Housing Authority, I went to my first meeting, which is the first meeting that they had for the year. Really uneventful. My just general observations, a tight group, they know what they're doing. And I'll just get more engaged and learn as I go, but it seemed tight group. They got their stuff together.
Awesome.
Okay.
Very cool.
I have nothing.
Just a couple things. I just go through my list really quickly here. Brainerd, is rolling along. They're looking to do a temporary CO for the top 2 floors of the second building. We're expecting that in a couple weeks from now. Spa is cranking along. They're putting roofing on there as well. They're already starting to do hiring. I'm getting
Wow.
just from people that want to apply. So I have put probably a dozen people in touch with the woman that's handling that for the spa, but they're looking at people now. So it's getting close enough that they want to start talking to people. Proud to announce that this last week, they started working on the river access project. They have the road down as far as, if you walk back there, I know we all have, the drop off. You start dropping off to the lower lands back there. They've already created the road down there. So I have a video of that.
And I want to say thank you, Mike. I always thought you were superhuman. You were in such great shape. But if you turn up the volume on your video and you're coming up that hill, you're huffing and
You
puffing.
hear me huffing and puffing? Yeah, there you go. It's for my desk job. It's last year. used to run marathon.
I feel better now, because I know I
Now I
help
sit
him
on a
up too.
desk a lot, so, yes, but that looks great. It's moving along nicely. We had a long talk about that today in terms of things we can do. Come May, hopefully we'll have a soft opening, but I know Lou and Rick are gonna be the first two in the kayaks, and then anyone else here that wants to be part of that, but I'm excited about that. And I think this park will be as important, maybe even more so than the current park that we have at the riverfront, because there's so much interest in it. There's a huge amount of things we can do to make this better. We're already getting grant money to do other things. I think we're applying for the real estate or the realtors grant for 7,500 to add benches and other things. So there's a lot of excitement about it. But what I'm looking forward to, when it came up today, is I want to take my kayak from that new location, bring it all the way around, and bring it back to our other park, and be able to do that. So more access to the river, just kind of exciting to think about that. So
Is there snow gonna slow them down?
it might, well, as Jim said, how does Jim go upriver instead of kayaking where it's hard? He just goes like this on his boat and he goes forward, you know? But we would be paddling the old
Way
fashioned
easier to
way
paddle it
up
going.
river. So anyways, so that is exciting. MDC contract Jim mentioned, we've got that. I'm gonna do an official signing, either have Scott come to Portland or go to MDC or whatever, but I'm glad that's behind us. There's an event on the 30th at Kerma next Friday. I believe John and Jim, you might be going, I don't know. But the town won a safety award. Michael Estrina and his team were able to make Brownstone Avenue safer last summer. And they voted us as well. That was a very creative way of getting that done. The film crew came out about 2 months ago, so you'll see Michael Estrina and Jason and some others of his crew in that video. We'll share it as soon as we get back from that as well, but we'll have a table of folks from town there. If any of the other selectmen would like to go, let me know. I'm sure there's space available, but it's Friday the 30th in Hartford from 8 to 2. And I believe the presentation's around 9:30 or 10 o'clock. So that is on the 30th. Very excited. Congratulations to Mike and the Public Works team. Something else I'm excited about too is last year we tried to get farmers markets going again. We got a great group of 15 or 20 very interested people. There's a buzz in town about it. We ran out of time because insurance reasons and the season got away with us. We're starting those again. We already have the dates set up. We are going to be doing those the last Friday of each month starting in May. It'll be at the town hall field that we have in town. It'll be from 3 to 6 is the tentative time on Friday nights. They'll have access to the bathroom at the town hall, and the rest of it will be blocked off. We're getting excitement about that. That team will be getting together soon. I've already talked to Kerm about what requirements for us and what the vendors have to do, but there's gonna be a lot of interest I've gotten a lot of interest from the farmers in town and craft people in town as well. And what I like about it from a business point of view is if we can get people to come over the bridge and come to Portland for that between 3 and 6, they can walk to Main Street and get something to eat or go or do some shopping or visit some of our businesses. So I'm very excited about that. And when the spa comes online, which will be maybe a month or two after November, December, that now is something next year. That's another event that people can kind of come to town or stay in town. So it's a small thing, but it's a big thing because we have a bunch of motivated people for that. So I'm very excited about that. Details will follow. I will put some things up in the newspaper as well as on social media. We're looking for grants everywhere. So if anyone here wants to start chasing grants as well, please let me know. I've asked all the department heads to kind of shake the bushes out there. There are grants both big and small. There's a $7,500 one we're getting from the Real Estate Association through Carl. There's a ton of other grants out there for smaller amounts that can make a big difference. So I encourage, and if anyone out there is watching that does grants, any help that you want to do with us, we greatly appreciate. Even if you want to volunteer to do something with us. We have 3 projects coming up in the spring when weather gets better. The sidewalks on Main Street, which we're starting at Walgreens and working way down to the police station. They will replace the sidewalks and they will change some curb cuts. So that's coming. The contractor's already been picked.
Don't they have to do the other end of Main Street too?
Yes, they still have that. Yep, that's still on the work. They haven't scheduled that yet, but this will be the first one, but they still have some money left over to do that.
I
Good point.
thought they were supposed to do that and this was the leftover money down here.
No, they still, this one is the one.
That's the way I understood it.
Yeah.
That they had to finish what was
Waverly
signed,
Connector.
and then any leftover money they did this end is what I.
Right.
The original grant was for
Right,
Yeah.
yes.
from
I'm sorry. Yeah,
Gildersleeve to Indian Hill.
I misunderstood. your
And this is
question.
the
Yeah,
leftover is to be from Walgreens to the police
correct, yes,
department.
correct.
As
Just
far
made
down
somebody
as we
think.
can get to.
Thank you very
So,
much. Yes, I misunderstood what you're saying. Yes. And they think they can get pretty far, that they think they can get down to the police department. So,
And wasn't it also Highland and what's the other road?
Waverly Extension.
No,
no, that
Oh,
was
Highland
Highland
Homestead.
and
Highland and
Homestead.
Homestead.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yep.
I know we've also talked about Waverly Extension and how we're gonna manage, go
Yeah.
from 2 to 1 and.
Because that question was asked of me again
Yeah.
last week, so.
Yeah.
And we need to.
That should be a simple fix.
That's, yeah.
Yeah, it shouldn't be that bad. Next one is the entrance to the park. We have money to do the entrance to the park. The Brownstone Quorum is donating, I guess, on the island, a sign for the park.
Yep.
So that is looking good. So that'll be great. And that'll be done before the summer concert series starts. So that's fantastic. And then the last small project under LoSiP is the parking lot on Middlesex Avenue. I think we have 8 to 10 spaces. Some will be handicapped right on that Middlesex Avenue next to Agliati Field. Did I pronounce that right?
Agility.
Yeah, I was close, wasn't I?
You don't got it, you got it.
You leave half the vowels out.
If you try to pronounce it phonetically, it doesn't work. So, anyway, that's all I have. All right, public comment? After all this time, you got nothing? Just enjoying the conversation? So let me ask you this, do you mind giving a little public comment to the people watching out there, what you think about what we talked about with the school project? Yeah. Because I think you represent a lot of people out there that are hearing this. maybe
And
for the
grew up
first
next
time.
to Central School.
No, I'm glad to see that,
Name and
yeah, Kim Hanna, Butler Lane, Portland. Glad to see there's progress being made, and I understand that the time frame seems condensed to get all this done, but that might not be the worst thing that can happen because people aren't going to lag in paying attention either. They're gonna have to pick a meeting and go and listen. And if you give them too much time, it backburners it, which may have been what happened the last time too. So, but I think the public forums are hugely important. And like I said a few meetings ago, they have to be concise. You don't want to bring in all the glitz and the shiny stuff. We don't need shiny stuff. We need great serviceable classrooms that the teachers can do their jobs in. And if that's what you're giving the people, I don't see a problem with it. There's going to be a lot of questions and nobody wants their taxes to go up, but we have to fix what we didn't take care of for 20 years. So if this is the best way to move forward, then let's just get it done. So, and like Bobby said, if we can, even though you're not scheduled to start till September of 27, if all those little pieces come together quicker and you've already moved the kids and you can start in April or May, you can get a head start on some of that. That gives you a little leeway for the inevitable roadblock that comes up. Something's going to come up. So that still keeps you getting these kids back where they want to be quicker. So I'm good with that.
Thank you, Mrs. Hannah.
Thank you very much. General informal discussion. Have we covered everything?
I was gonna say, I think we sort of had that.
I just
Yeah.
have one thing. The town-owned parking lot that is on Lower Main Street next to the sewer plant that we lease half of it out.
Yes.
Can we ask Jason, the Public Works Director, is there a reason that we can't empty the gas and oil out of that boat and put it in a dumpster and have it taken away? Why is it still sitting there?
So we just got the title to that about a month ago. So that's part of the reason, because it was abandoned.
Okay, that was a
Um,
month ago.
Yeah, no, right, yeah, so we have that. I put something out to see if anyone wanted to bid on it and a dollar, because disposal cost of the boat is a couple $100 at minimum. Boaters, what's the cost to dispose of a boat?
I don't get rid of boats, I buy them.
There you keep them, right? So yes, so we want to get rid of it. If someone wants to buy it as part of maybe a high school senior project.
Let's just get rid of it so we stop
Right,
kicking
yes.
this can down the road.
Right.
And on the other side of the parking lot, when are we getting the trailers out of there?
One of the trailers is, has a previous deal. That's the hot dog place.
Which has not been in business for years.
The way the setup was before, I understand the process. The way the setup was, is they paid for the hookup electric wise. And that property is something that they were told that they could use. They've kept the business going once a year, doing something. So they fulfilled that. We could kick them out. and just tell him you have to be down there more, but in fairness to him, he did try to get set up next to Chris Cody. He was looking to kind of continue that and do something else, and that fell through. The other folks got that. So, I can revisit that. The other trailer is also his as well.
Yeah,
But, he says, last time I spoke to him a couple weeks ago, was that he was looking forward to opening up again. So, I will follow up and discuss that again. No, and that plus his parcel is kind of blocked off in terms of the parking lot versus his area, but it is worth relooking at.
do we have a lease with him?
It was a handshake lease that said you can use that property while you're doing your business because you paid that. So it's kind of an ongoing one. I mean, it can be changed, but that was.
No, I'm just,
Yeah.
he hasn't been open for a couple of years.
Yeah,
And
certainly not.
I don't know how the second trailer got put there, because the business is only one trailer.
Right.
So,
He's-
I mean,
he-
we're talking about cleaning up like dilapidated properties around town. And they finally tore down the house on Indian Hill Avenue next to Petzold's.
Right.
That was abandoned for what, 8-10 years? And I'm just looking at cleaning
Right.
stuff up and sick of looking at garbage.
I gotta tell you, no one sees more blight than me. Every time I drive someplace, I see something messed up or a fence messed up across town. So yeah, I'll look into it again. I think it's worthwhile. And if anyone else sees things that need to get done or something that should have a concern, it kind of ties into building official and blight. One of the things that we do need to do is look at ordinances and other things that we do in town. I know we have ethics on a follow-up item, we have town charter review, but we do need to look at all the ordinances that we have as well, and do a discussion on that. So it's something that needs to be looked at because some of the things that we have right now, there's no teeth, or the procedures we have, I think work against the town's interests. So I think that should be something that we discuss and add to it.
So one of the things that I actually was gonna bring up, and I had no idea you were even gonna be talking about this, but I had a meeting with Dan B, and basically it was just some of my observations from sitting in on 5 or 6 planning and zoning sessions. There's just, to me, from being the new guy just listening in, I just think that from a town standpoint, we've really got to step up our game from an enforcement standpoint. I think the committee, they all want to do a good job, but they really don't. My perception, and I shared this with Dan, is I really don't think that they understand, or maybe he doesn't, of where his responsibilities start and where they end. I think we have a lot of things going in town, and I think we're just not stepping it up as a town and enforcing things. We got people coming in with permits after they do work. We have folks with marijuana signs in their windows, and I could, we could write a book of all the reasons why we can't do anything, but I mean, simple things like, a boat or that house you're talking about, this is within us, right? And I think people look to us at this table to say, what are you guys doing about it, right? And I just think that we just got to step up our game. Sorry.
I'm pretty humble. I'm a light officer, position has been eliminated, but.
And I had,
Oh, we
I had
have
no
one?
idea.
Right.
Fine, we didn't, the town did not fix the sidewalk, this is what I want.
Right.
I'm way older than John, I grew up on the same street, the way it was, you took care of it.
Right. So, and proud and ownership.
You're older than John?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Jesus. Sorry, John.
And if you didn't, somebody came and knocked on the door and said, you're violating the ordinance.
So,
You didn't leave your cars parked on the side of the road all winter long, not just when, you didn't.
Yeah.
The first selectman did not have to put out a notice every time it was going to snow.
Right, 'cause people just did it.
November 15th to April 15th, you didn't park on the road.
I'm going to share something. I'm not going to get myself in trouble. I need to be careful how I say this, but I am happy that David is on board, and that we can get some enforcement done where I wish we had some others before. And I've also got involved in the areas of light and with people that call me up and stuff like that I probably shouldn't need to or have to, but I did because some of the concerns were significant. We had some people come to this meeting and talk about neighbors that were doing terrible things or whatever. So I've inserted myself into those because it wasn't done. So again, I see that as well. Benny, I think you're dead on. We all see that. And we need to change, and we need to make sure that it's consistently applied out there. Businesses need to know you have to clean up your fence can't be overgrown. You know, if you're on, wherever you are, you have to follow the rules and listen. Yep. No.
You're supposed to be there.
Right. Take it.
Our town guys, there's that minute, they should not be found on all these cars, or having to go back and clean them up when they finally move.
We do a lot with very few now. I mean, some of our departments have half the staff they had 10, 15 years ago. So they're doing a great deal and to their credit, they've kept everything going, but we need the cooperation of everyone out there. Yeah. You'll do it once and you won't do it again if you have to pay something like that. So,
And by the way, that's a good PSA to bring it up because we've got a pretty good storm looking like it's gonna hit us on Sunday and
yeah,
our crews are gonna be out
Blizzard
again,
coming.
so.
absolutely. So,
Mike, can I, that item we talked about a little bit
oh,
this
sure.
afternoon?
Absolutely.
Mike and I had a brief discussion this afternoon and I'm like a broken record, but I tend to be all about transparency, you know, and as much as we have social media and the things that we're doing on social media, this meeting and this agenda are the driving item for what we do here. And, you know, we talked a lot. I talked a lot tonight because we just had the meeting about the school project. But I think if people need to be able to look online, see what's on the agenda and know they can listen in. And that was a very good conversation we had tonight, but it wasn't on the agenda. With the short window of time we're talking about, I'm talking now specifically about the school project. I believe that people should be able to look online, look at the agenda and know we're going to talk about it. I would like to see under old business, have that being an item that we carry over at each meeting. So that people know that there's potentially going to be discussion about it and we're probably gonna be talking more about it over the coming weeks. But, and as I said to Mike, I would rather have people be pissed off at me because there's an item on the agenda and we had nothing to say about it, instead of hearing later on that we spoke for 45 minutes about an important item
nobody
that
knew.
wasn't on the
And nobody
agenda.
knew.
So, you know, I would specifically with that one, I'd like to see
Well-
that be put on under old business.
It should be that, it should be the well.
Yeah.
We should have a
Yeah.
A regular.
regular update on it.
Just say,
And you
there's
can
no-
even say-
there's no update. but-
There's, nothing's changed and move on.
Right, but I think people, like I use my mom as an example. My mother's 88 years old. She knows how this town runs, but she does not go on social media. She's not on Facebook. And she's a person that reads the paper and looks at her phone. And if she can see that this is on, she knows how to watch a meeting, but she doesn't get anything from social media. And I want to make sure that if we're going to talk about something, it's got to be on this agenda. So I would ask at least specifically, the school project should be carried over under old business until we decide that it should no longer be.
Right.
Yeah, until the referendum.
Yeah. Until, or traditionally, all the items that were ongoing were normally talked about during like status and committee reports. Was how it was traditionally done. After our discussion.
But it's so the public sees it.
Right, no, I know,
Yeah,
I
you know.
understand that,
Yeah.
and that was part of the problem back then, because not as many people were logging on back then, not as many people were paying attention to the meetings. That's the change from 5, 6 years ago.
Right.
So I think that, so what my suggestion is, what I think will make sense is under the old business would be normally things that need to have some kind of action on there. New business is also something that we are doing something with, but I will add to under the old business, kind of an ongoing issues that we
Yeah.
have and list those out as ones that are still actively being discussed
Yes.
and actively being kind of checked off. So that way every week
Yeah.
you or anybody else knows that, okay, it's going to be schools, it's going to be well, it's going to be sewers, it's going to be whatever.
Right.
And even if it just lists them all out, that we touch them each meeting. Because I think that's fair, and I think it puts it in writing for them as well. So
Yes. Yeah,
so
thank you.
agree
Also,
with,
if something pops that we need to take some sort of an action on, it's an agenda item,
right,
right? If something comes up and we now have a shorter fuse,
Mhm.
we can take action without a problem.
100%.
Yeah, I would just think though that something like appointments and reappointments to boards and commission seems like its own agenda item, not old business. Just if we're talking
Right.
about how this is being structured.
Sure.
Or even the monthly report on Committee on Solidarity, do those things belong under old business or are they separate agenda items?
I think they're separate agenda items, those two.
Yeah, because the old business, I think,
Because the solidarity is once a month
Right.
but the appointments and reappointments
It's
is
every-
every meeting.
It's every
Right.
time and it's its own agenda item. And
Yeah.
then the old business, to everyone's point, is the projects that we've talked about where we want to hear every single time, what's the status of the
Right.
things that
Yeah.
are following
Or if,
project
if,
plans.
if you brought something up tonight and Mike said, oh, I'll look into it,
Mhm.
that'll be under old
Yeah.
business on our next meeting is
Right.
I have an answer to your question.
Right.
Right, agreed. Agreed.
Thank you.
No, well said, agreed. I think that, and again, it does make it easier and it does, I mean, again, with the slew of projects we have,
Mhm.
and people paying attention, we need to
Yeah.
give an ongoing update of what's happening.
And if this agenda goes to the back of the paper, so be it.
Right.
I mean, you know,
That's a good,
They
that's a
just
good,
do
that's a
smaller
good problem to
print.
have.
well,
So,
there's been some agendas that we posted and it looks like there's nothing going on.
Right.
But then when we're in the meeting, there's an awful lot discussed, but if it's not on the agenda, I feel like we're not being open with everybody. You know, they need to be able to know we're gonna talk about it.
I think more is better than less.
Yeah, I-
Right.
Especially it's a topic that we usually talk about.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right,
It's not something
Yeah.
coming out of thin air.
I agree.
There's not much of that.
People in work because we're eliminating rights than just, oh, I was gonna do that, or I looked at the agenda, we do the same thing to do that. So, you know.
Right.
That's why it's moving.
Right. So I could see us having a list of 7 or 8 projects right now that every week, we just check, we touch it and we go through each one of them.
Mhm.
So.
Yeah.
All right, I like that idea. We can do that. Change is good.
Yeah.
Change is very good. All right. I only have one last comment with regards to follow-up items. Ethics ordinance, I know we talked about that. We need to work on that, but I want to talk about the town charter. I know recently there was some talk about the fact that we haven't done that for many, many years. I think the last revision to the charter might have been 18 years ago, 20 years ago.
2004.
Yeah, I was gonna say early 2000s.
22 years ago.
Yeah.
22, yeah, so quite a long time. And they are 100% right. It should have been done for a long time. Last year when I came in, I know we had talked about doing that after we got through the budget season last year. And I remember the conversation because I've had it with a couple of you today, that why did we wait until this next year? And the discussion we had, as a reminder to everyone, is that because we were coming up to an election, we thought it made sense to wait until whoever was seated on the board would be part of that discussion. And that was the reason that we delayed. I would have been happy to start it before, but there's a certain clock that starts ticking once you say you're going to do it and getting it formed and stuff. So
This should be our June agenda,
that's exactly
Yeah.
right. And
because then we're well underway.
yes,
The school will already have the vote
Mhm.
and the budget will be done.
I agree.
So we
And-
have an open palette.
And that's, I think, what we've talked about a couple of meetings ago, that's what we're shooting for. But I agree with Bobby. That's what I wanted to do. And I think we all kind of agreed to that as well. So the goal then is we will be starting that. That is on, we've wanted to do that. Those that were on the old board, we had talked about this a number of times. But we'll tackle it in June. We'll be done with the budget. We'll be done with the school project will be ongoing, but still we will tackle it then and
And
get
I,
things
and I
set.
would suggest, I know we probably all done it, but
Mhm.
we should each between now and June, take a little time to go through the charter. Have some ideas of areas of focus,
Mhm.
because the thing that drives me and concerns me a little bit is the language we have, which I think is statute.
Mhm.
Once the Board of
Yeah.
Selectmen decides they want the charter revised, they have 30 days to appoint a commission.
Well,
And-
that's why we should think of people ahead of time
Right.
and
And think of areas of concern, because I would much prefer to, when we.
you want to give
start
them
that-
direction and not say,
Yeah, you
here,
want
right,
read the whole
point
thing.
them, say, okay, this is what we want you to do, instead of just have the discussion suddenly and say, give them the charter and say, go for it. No, they want to have some guidance.
Yeah.
There's guidance, we prep it, we
Yeah.
know what we want to, what we want to do and have it reviewed thoroughly, so.
Well, my thought too is however many are on it, that it's a smaller number.
Mhm.
Because if it's 15 people, it's gonna be very difficult to get things done.
No.
Nobody can agree.
No,
I agree.
Yeah.
Okay. And I agree.
It says 5 to 15, so you're right, on the low end, yeah.
So, but yes, but I am looking forward to that.
Mhm.
And then lots
you.
changed over the years. So we need to do that. So that is our commitment as a board and my commitment to make sure that happens. And again, would have done it sooner last year, because it is due. But we have a plan now. I feel comfortable. Everyone's good on that.
Yes.
That's great. So we're the same mindset and we'll do some prep work. So we got a lot of work to do in the next couple of months, don't we?
We do.
We sure do. So looking forward to it.
All
All right.
I make a motion to
I-
adjourn.
Thank you. Motion to
Second.
adjourn. Second. All those in favor?
All right.
All right. We are adjourned. What time? Oh, 5.